Good evening, everyone, and welcome to UCLA Social Enterprise Academy. For those of you who have not had a chance to meet, my name is Julie Sina, and I have as what is both the joy and the privilege of serving as the Associate Vice Chancellor for UCLA Alumni Affairs, or simply put, your Alumni Director. I'm really thrilled that we can gather together this evening, but also want to acknowledge the space we're doing it in. While again, very grateful for the virtual space. Really looking forward to when we can gather, just like we did last year, in the beautiful Myron Renee Luskin Conference Center, and have the interactions face to face rather than the Zoom world. But that said, grateful for that world. It's been since 2011 that the UCLA Social Enterprise Academy has helped over 90 local nonprofits develop social enterprises. It's a 5-month program that connects undergraduate students with nonprofit organizations to identify earned income opportunities or social enterprises. The program combines teamwork, expert training, individualized coaching, and a comprehensive approach that builds successful new businesses. And during this program, our students and nonprofits work together on experiences with idea generation, market research, financial planning, business planning, and ever so much more that comes out of working together in those relationships. We are so glad that you could join us to celebrate the showcase and their work tonight. So it's really a thrill for me to introduce to you Professor Andy Atkinson. It's the work that we do in alumni in the career space. Each and everything that we do really was started by a seed that Andy planted. I'm so proud of what we've done together and know there's so much more to come. Andy is a Stanley M. Zimmerman Professor of Economics and Finance and directs our Business Economics program at UCLA. So have a fabulous night, and thank you, Andy, and enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much, Julie, for that introduction. This is obviously a very different showcase than we have done in our previous years. And I want to acknowledge that and thank everyone involved in getting us to this point. I remember very clearly our last in-person meeting was the very last, I think it was the very last live class at UCLA, because it was the Tuesday evening that we shut down the campus. And we were all together, and I think I felt a lot of uncertainty, and I'm sure many of you did too, about what was going to happen over the course of the spring quarter in the second half of our academy. I'm really excited to say that things have turned out so well. I think in our first round of competition, we saw 10 very strong presentations, and our finalists and fast pitches tonight, I think, are all very strong. So for that, I really want to thank everyone involved. I want to thank the attendees who are coming into the Zoom room now. I want to thank our judges who are making time to make this showcase work. I want to thank the coaches that really stepped in. We had to have more hands-on help with our teams because of the fact we were doing everything remotely. And we had a fine set of coaches come in to really support the teams in the spring quarter, and I think that was very successful. I want to put out a special thanks to the staff of the participating organizations. I know that the crisis that we're all facing now hit all of you, each of your organizations, and I know that day to day, particularly early on this spring, you were wondering how you were going to carry out the work that you do, the valuable work that you do in this very different environment. And yet at the same time, you stayed connected to this academy and to the students. So I'm very grateful to you for that. And I want to commend you and for that connection to this enterprise. I also want to put out, probably my most special thanks to the students. I know that this has been very disruptive in your lives to be sent home from school and not really know what was going to happen, not really know where if you're graduating, what kind of jobs you can find and all the rest of that. I want to commend you for staying connected to this process and pouring your energy into it, and to bring it to this kind of wonderful outcome that I think we'll see tonight. So that's really the central part I want to do, is to thank everybody and congratulate everybody. And with that, I'll hand it over to Betsy Densmore to introduce the specifics of the process and our judges and to get us going. So Betsy, will you take over? Hopefully she's ready.
There, I'm unmuted. I was attempting to, yeah, there we go. I was just putting my computer on speaker view, or I had it on speaker view for you, and I recommend it for everybody else, because that means that you have a picture of the speaker and whatever the slide is, which is a little less chaotic than looking at all the little, looking at everybody who's online. So exciting to see you all online though. So thanks, Andy, and welcome everybody. I am a managing director and founder of Academies for Social Entrepreneurship. I've just emerged from an orientation meeting with our judges, who I'll be introducing shortly. I want to say just a little bit about who Academies for Social Entrepreneurship is. We've been developing programs to support social enterprise for well over 10 years. And our focus is on helping nonprofit organizations develop earned income businesses so that they're not so dependent on donations. And we really love this opportunity to move charities that are doing great work into a space of loving profits instead of being nonprofits. The Social Enterprise Academy is our core product. We've done over 30 of them and helped to create over 300 different kinds of social enterprises. We never do these programs by ourselves. We always have partners, institutional partners, and our very favorite institutional partner is UCLA, because of the rich resources and the enormous talent of both the people who are staff and professors on campus, as well as the students. What that's meant is that the not-for-profit organizations that get into this academy get basically a huge boost of the talents and time of students who become part of their team and help them figure out what should be the very best venture for them. This year, as you will hear, our finalists are examples of very creative and innovative organizations and different kinds of social enterprises that build on the assets of whatever their particular organization is. And it is our hope that as a result of participating in this academy, their ideas for ventures take off and are implemented quite quickly. I'm going to now take a moment to introduce you to our judges. We are always on the hunt for experts who have both a diversity of view and are grounded in what it takes to build a successful business. They'll be deciding how to divvy up the $30,000 cash prize pool, which we have for these three, this year's three winners. Let me take a moment to tell you about them. The first is Russell Fawcett, who's now retired, but had a very successful career investing in the equity and debt securities of publicly traded US and European companies. More recently, he's been assisting nonprofit organizations in their strategic planning and financial management, as well as managing the Fawcett Catalyst Fund, which is a family foundation devoted to philanthropy and especially focusing on social entrepreneurship. The next person I'd like to introduce is Claudia Sangster. Claudia is a former senior vice president in the wealth management division at Northern Trust Company, where her focus was on helping families figure out how to create their legacy of wisdom, wealth, and giving through multiple generations. She's also a founding partner and past chair of LA Social Venture Partners, which is a longtime strategic partner of ASE, and a longtime funder as the chair of the Nicholas Endowment, which has been our anchor funder for this program since we started 10 years ago. Matt Sacedo leads an entertainment partnership team at Facebook, working with Facebook and Instagram's top film, television, music, and talent partners. He serves also as a member of the board of directors of the UCLA Alumni Association, where he emphasizes governance, diversity, and business development. Anne Wang is a Forbes 30 Under 30 entrepreneur, creative strategist, and producer. Her first company, Enru, is an online marketplace for the socially conscious consumer to discover some of the many products, one-of-a-kind products being created in developing communities around the world. She's also building a creative studio that focuses on consulting for larger clients, as well as producing original content for platforms like Netflix, Amazon, and Spotify. And also serves on several boards, including the UCLA Alumni Association and Light Hope Life, a nonprofit promoting mental well-being within the music industry. And finally, Angel Zapata is Senior Vice President and Stakeholder Engagement Initiative Strategist for Wells Fargo's National Corporate Philanthropy and Community Relations Group. He has vast experience in community banking. He serves and has served on the boards and advisory committees of many local and national nonprofit organizations, including the Asset Funders Group, Southern California Grantmakers, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, and LA Neighborhood Housing Services. So welcome, all of you, and thank you so much for making time to bring us your views on these fledgling businesses. So now, let's get started on these presentations. Each team has 8 minutes to pitch, and they will be timed. A buzzer will go off. After each presentation, the judges will have 5 minutes to share their views, comments. And there will be a buzzer that cuts them off too. So since we only have 5 minutes, there really won't be time to answer questions. So they'll be just giving the presenters and the audience some of their insights about things that really stood out. They'll be working from the 8 criteria which we use to develop each of these businesses. And those criteria will be posted on a slide during the comment period. We want you to get familiar with them because you're all invited to be the judge when we move on to the second round of presentations, the 3-minute elevator pitches from our runner-ups. And we hope that you will use the same criteria as you decide which one is your favorite. The overall audience favorite will be receiving a $5,000 award thanks to our funding from Wells Fargo. So, and then after the elevator pitches, the third part of this great event is our keynote speaker. So settle in and let me introduce you to our first presenter, which is Los Alamitos Youth Group. I'll let Christian take it away.
So Los Alamitos, let's have you start sharing your slides and then we'll get you kicked off.
Perfect. I'm getting this up right now. Let's see here. Okay.
When you're ready to go, start.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dominic Lafort.
And my name is Lena Lumid, the Executive Director of Los Alamitos Youth Center.
Today, we're proud to introduce Camp Shark After School Adventures. Before we dive into this innovative venture concept, Lena, why don't you tell them about the Los Alamitos Youth Center?
We're the oldest award-winning nonprofit in Los Alamitos, serving more than 1,000 students annually. You could see the joy on our children's faces in these pictures. We provide 10 fun educational programs throughout the year. Our current facility was built in 1972 with an agreement between us and the City of Los Alamitos for utility, maintenance, and rent-free facility for 50 years. The problem is that this agreement expires in 2023, and now the youth center must find a new location and a sustainable funding model, or we will have to close our doors.
Losing their home and generating new overhead costs is a challenge, especially for a nonprofit organization that serves low-income families. We have a solution. Meet Camp Shark After School Adventures, a mobile program connecting youth with fun developmental activities in and around the Los Alamitos area. Students will be picked up from school on a 20-person bus and taken on a 3 to 4 hour adventure. Thankfully, the Youth Center currently owns and operates the bus needed for our venture. We will host 4 events per school per month, grouped by age. Every month, students can expect new and exciting events designed around a central theme, and all events will follow our core concepts: science, hands-on, art, recreation, and knowledge, or SHARK. Our events will include cooking classes, trips to trampoline gyms, coding and technology educational sessions, and also volunteer opportunities, such as helping out at the local Sea Lion Rescue Center or organizing donations at the food bank. Our location is centrally located at the intersection of many large and vibrant cities. Finding unique events will not be a problem for us. In fact, it's what the Youth Center does best.
We're a hands-on interactive experience for kids, which parents love. Getting children off of their phones and creating a space to learn is a cornerstone of our program, and this sets us apart from other youth-focused organizations. All programs are open to youth with special needs, and we pride ourselves on creating an inclusive and positive environment for all children. By scheduling these adventures in the community and developing partnerships with local businesses, we will be connecting new customers with participating organizations. This will play an important role in stimulating our local economy. Our UCLA students have taken the current pandemic into consideration by budgeting to include preventive measures such as plexiglass dividers installed on our bus, Shark branded face masks, and of course, lots and lots of hand sanitizer, ensuring kids can have fun and be safe at the same time.
When we're talking about the benefits of this program, it's important to recognize 2 distinct beneficiaries: Camp Shark users and Youth Center users. For students using Camp Shark, they will have access to a dynamic schedule of activities that includes volunteer opportunities in the community. All of the revenue from this program will directly impact the youth currently using the Youth Center. Lena, why don't you tell them about some of these students?
Meet our beautiful Butterfield family. Single mom Shannon is in the Coast Guard, and unfortunately, she can be deployed for months at a time. The Youth Center is the only stability for these children, a second home. Here at the Youth Center, Connor and his sisters, Ariana and Nevea, developed a love for reading. They learned leadership skills and received tutoring services to prepare them for a bright future. This is one example of the hundreds of families we serve. When you invest in Camp Shark After School Adventures, you invest in kids like Connor, Ariana, and Nevea's futures.
In the Los Alamitos area alone, we've identified 7 target schools with over 5,700 potential users. It's important to remember that Los Alamitos is quite small, but if we expand into neighboring cities, our total addressable market grows from 5,700 to 180,000, and that's just within a 10-mile radius. This demonstrates a significant opportunity for growth.
Based on our research, there is a distinct demographic that will utilize this educational programming. In fact, 95% of parents are open to committing kids to this monthly program. This idea is based on our existing summer camp program, the biggest revenue generator for the Youth Center, and it sells out within minutes. Camp Shark brings fun educational trips and experiences to children during summer, but unfortunately, once summer is over, children no longer have these opportunities. This venture will serve more families all year round.
As mentioned earlier, the concept utilizes a 20-person bus that is currently owned and operated by the Youth Center. Each bus will include 2 staff members and up to 18 seats for students. Our plan allows for 1 bus to serve 4 schools with 4 events per month each. This program will run 10 months out of the year.
There are a lot of youth organizations in the Los Alamitos area. However, no one is offering what we bring to this community. The Youth Center is the only organization picking students up from school, connecting them with a dynamic and rotating schedule of events, and bringing them back to our facility for when parents are off of work. This is a unique service in the Los Alamitos community.
We have developed a growth strategy allowing us to expand into the community surrounding Los Alamitos by year 3, and we expect to operate up to 10 buses by the end of year 4. With this plan, by year 3, our venture will generate enough profits to allow the Youth Center to secure a new home and continue to support the lives of students in Los Alamitos. Our financial model is based on a $20 per hour fee, and this fee was determined using a series of focus groups to establish the willingness to pay. Now, this price matches the cost of daycare services, but we provide educational opportunities at a significant discount. This model has been designed using conservative estimates with the expectation of making these events profitable to local businesses. Using our model, we expect to profit by the end of year 1, in part because the Youth Center already has the equipment and strong volunteer network we need to keep our startup expenses low. By the end of year 3, our venture will feature 2 buses serving 10 schools and generating profits of over $151,000. But none of this would be possible if it wasn't for the amazing team at the Youth Center.
I first learned about the Youth Center in 2003 when I was homeless and pregnant, living in the Los Alamitos shelter. The support I received from my community inspired my love for nonprofit work. Since then, I have obtained a degree in child development, spent 15 years with the Youth Center, and received numerous awards for my contributions. I organized a team of passionate, hardworking, bright minds to create educational and enriching opportunities for youth. The Los Alamitos area is a strong community for kids, and that is reflected on this team.
We need $15,000 in funding to launch this venture. A large portion of the expenses will cover the cost of the operations, which includes licensing and insurance for the bus driver, employee salaries, and other transportation expenses. We've dedicated funding to Camp Shark merchandising, the development of marketing content, and the creation of a new website. With your help, the Youth Center can get the funds it needs to launch Camp Shark After School Adventures.
From the staff, our volunteers, and students like Connor, Ariana, and Nevaeh, thank you for investing in our future.
Thank you for that presentation. We should turn it now over to the judges to give comments. Betsy, I think you'll take over.
I will. I'm going to have the first comment go to Matt. Caught him off guard, or else he has to unmute.
No,
Possibly all the.
Hi there. I can't turn my video on, but I could just start chatting since I know we're tight on time. Hey everybody.
Thank you.
I loved. So again, I'm going to keep it to comments. Here we go.
There you are.
Okay. All right.
Good show.
I can't see myself, but I'm going to assume I'm on. Hi everybody.
Yes, you
Okay, great. So I loved being able to see the names and the faces of the community that you guys serve. The competition slide, number 21, was particularly good. It's always helpful to see kind of how you're differentiating yourself compared to other organizations that you kind of see competing most closely with the people you are hoping to help. I like the $20 price point and the reasoning behind it. I think with any sort of kind of, let's say, pre-revenue or kind of pre-launch startup, it's always helpful if there's additional data around, if you ran a test where you said, we have one bus running right now and we were able to get, X amount of people to pay Y dollars for it. That always helps make a stronger case around, especially around price points. Again, I'd be interested in seeing kind of another iteration of this, how you might be able to quantify or measure the impact on either the community or on the children, right? So really help the audience understand what is the value that you're bringing to the community that you hope to serve. Again, that just helps really tell that narrative in a way that's easy for people to understand kind of the core value. So thank you very much also, above all else, for putting all this together and putting together such a clear presentation.
Thanks, Matt. All right, Claudia, anything you'd like to comment on in particular? Are you muted? Or are you missing? All right, let me move on to Anne and we'll come back to Claudia.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. All right.
Well, thank you for a very well done presentation. First of all, I really enjoyed your enthusiasm and the quality of your slides. I had one question that came up that on slide 18, that you already, right now, you anticipate 12 students a week, or they're already in other programs. I wasn't quite sure about that. I also appreciated Matt's comment about quantification in terms of impact on these children. Are you going to do a qualitative survey? How are you going to make sure that what you're seeking to achieve is actually being achieved? I think that's an important concept as well. And I think that one other question is, you have to have a new situation as far as where you are located in 2023. Are the funds that are going to be created through this social enterprise going to be used in order to acquire a building, lease a building? I was just curious about that. But really appreciated how you approached it and how you even looked at your competitors. So thanks for allowing me to comment.
And all those questions are questions for you to ponder in the future, since we don't have time to answer them right now. Thanks, Claudia. Anne.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I echo everyone's sentiment. I was really impressed with just how clear the story was through the whole pitch. It was really amazing to get a sense of how you were going to grow. I think that ability to increase buses makes a lot of sense and scale. I would definitely push you to think about the marketing strategy a little bit more. It sounds like in the beginning you have an existing group that sounds like they're doing the summer camps already. So it's great to have that existing market to go after. But really, how are you going to expand that messaging, that marketing, besides just branding and merch? The other thing that I find really interesting here is if there's a way to do some sort of annual or subscription model or something that gets you just more loyal customers, loyal usage throughout the year. And that also frees up some funding for you to invest in growth in advance. And I think a lot of parents will want, their kids to be committed to this for X amount of time versus just making that decision on a one-off ticket. So I think it's really smart. I echo Matt in the measurable impact. I'm sure you guys have thought of that already, but I think if you want to get outside investors on this sooner and faster, there has to be this larger scale goal of how this could really impact how youth are learning outside of classrooms, how we're protecting and promoting, safe learning after school. So there's a bigger vision that I think people would invest a lot of money into.
Great, thanks. Angel.
Thank you. First of all, great presentation. And I want to say, Lima, it was a great story. And really just you sharing your personal experience, I thought was really critical in your ability to pitch the passion. And so there's just a couple of things that I would just call out. One is we're still in this COVID-19 environment. I know you're looking at low-income families, and I know that just based on the stuff that we've been working on at Wells and my colleagues as well in community development, we suspect that there are a lot of families who've lost jobs already who may not regain them. And so my question is, are you all thinking about other opportunities to raise money to maybe perhaps subsidize, because even $20 may be a low price point for some. It may be a hindrance for others who may not be able to afford it. In fact, we're looking at research now that shows that some poor families are 1 or 2 paychecks away from becoming homeless. That's just an aside. But I think your overall value proposition of working with low-income kids and giving them the extracurricular benefits is, I think, a very good one. The other thing I would just encourage you all to think about, because I didn't hear it, is what your offline outreach strategy is going to be. I know that I think Anne was talking about the marketing, but I think what is your sort of grassroots outreach going to be? Because the other thing that we've uncovered during COVID is that there are a lot of people who still don't have access to the internet. And so they may via the cell phones and whatnot, but I think that that's just something for you all to think about. And so I think that there are really good opportunities for you all. I also want to commend you for doing this pitch via Zoom. It's not always easy. It's a very different energy. So I really want to tip my hat off to you both for stepping up to the challenge and doing it in this sort of Zoom environment. And I know that it's not always easy. So, you know, thank you both for a great pitch.
Thank you. All right, our time is up. We will move on to Jazz Hands for Autism. Our fifth judge will be the first speaker next time.
Thank you all
That's
so much
Russell.
for your comments and your
That's
questions. I
Russell.
really appreciate it.
Yeah. And the judges will have a minute to do their scoring.
Jazz Hands, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, Matt.
There it is.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, yes. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, wonderful.
When you're ready, start it off.
All right, you good, Ifu? You ready?
I'm good, let's go.
All right, perfect. Hello, I'm Sebastian, and here with me today is the CEO of Jazz Hands for Autism, Ifu Nanya. Ifu?
Hi everyone, thank you guys for being here today. I'd like you all to join me in an activity. Close your eyes, and for the next 10 seconds, think back to when you were a kid. Think of that one thing you tried your hardest on, but no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't figure it out. Now imagine living a life where all of your experiences are centered around the things that you can't do. As a behavior interventionist, I spent much of my time working with my students on skills they found difficulty mastering. But imagine if we flipped that. Imagine if instead of focusing on limitations, we approach teaching individuals with autism from areas of their strengths. That's who Jazz Hands for Autism is. We are a music educational and vocational program that provides training that is customized to the talents, interests, and goals of adults on the autism spectrum. Music builds bridges. As you can see here, there are many benefits that music has in the lives of individuals with autism. In fact, studies show that music interventions in individuals with autism result in increased connectivity between the auditory and motor regions of the brain. Simply put, music builds more connections in the brain, which improves socialization and communication. In the Adult Academy, Jazz Hands has already established relationships with the California Regional Center and with both public and non-public schools, many of which are pushing for youth programs.
For our social venture, we wanted to expand the reach of the Jazz Hands mission from beyond just solely adults to now children as well. Our social venture will be called the Junior Academy and will provide in-home music instruction to kids on the autism spectrum with the goal to develop their social and motor skills, as well as create a pipeline for students into the Adult Academy.
So remember how I mentioned earlier that I was a behavior interventionist? What I didn't mention is that in all the schools I worked at, there was no music program for my students. And that's what we're trying to combat here. Through the Junior Academy, we are looking to create more access to music education for more children with special needs.
We will focus on kids located in the West LA area since Jazz Hands' main studio is based out of Culver City. To derive our total market, we looked at kids on the autism spectrum from ages 10 to 18, but we could have easily and realistically expanded that out to ages 5 to 18, but we wanted to be very conservative. The demand for this service is great, and the target market you see here is not fixed in the slightest and will continue to grow as autism grows around the world. For our market analysis, we circulated a survey to draw further conclusions regarding the demand for this service. Over 90% of parents were willing to enroll their child in a private music lesson, and half also preferred in-home instruction over in-studio and group lessons.
So quite a few parents have already expressed interest in music programs for their kids. Every couple of months or so, a parent reaches out to us mentioning that they have a son or daughter that's age 13 and loves music and asking, what resources exist for my kids? The Junior Academy is our response to their demand.
In order to capitalize on evident parent, school, and regional center demand for youth programs, this venture could not be implemented at a more opportune time. As Eva and I have mentioned, previously Jazz Hands has focused on catering towards only adults. There is one notable exception. In 2017, a dad met Ifunanya at a resource fair and he absolutely fell in love with the Jazz Hands mission, so much so that he went back to his son's charter school, Inspire, and he convinced the school to allow Jazz Hands to become a licensed vendor. Since then, the school has covered monthly funding for his son, and he has been able to watch his son blossom over the last 3 years.
So for the distinction of Z receiving in-home lessons through Jazz Hands, he's grown in a few ways. Firstly, he's grown in his technical skills. He's moved from learning drums to beat making and music production. He's also expanded the range of his interests in musical genres. He's gone from liking just one genre to being open to various genres of music. And lastly, he's grown in his social abilities and his ability to collaborate with other musicians and follow different directions, as you'll see in this next video.
We have so enjoyed the opportunity and to see the progress my son Zach has been making with the kind, patient instruction from Jazz Hands for Autism. He has turned into a musician. Thank you, Jazz Hands.
We will first implement our marketing strategy and sponsor training for teachers to receive their registered behavior technician certifications. Once the teachers have been onboarded, Jazz Hands will launch the venture, hiring more teachers to meet demand, and then the cash flows generated will then help expand the Adult Academy. The most important thing to note is that finding students to fill the Junior Academy is not the issue. It's the timely onboarding of teachers to meet the inevitable demand. Jazz Hands' marketing outreach strategy will primarily consist of attending resource fairs, most of which are free to nonprofits and something that Jazz Hands has had experience doing in the past, tabling at schools, and implementing a freemium model to give survey respondents 30% off their first lesson. These tactics result in low customer acquisition costs. This venture presents Jazz Hands with 3 diversified revenue streams that consist of 1, the private lessons, 2, instrument rental income, and 3, concert ticket sales that showcase the talents and progress of the students. In the base case, at the end of the first year, Jazz Hands will enroll 20 students, resulting in a revenue of $71,800 and show a first-year loss of near $9,000 due to the ramping up of the venture. However, we will only need 13 students, or equivalently near $84,000 in sales, in order to break even. And we are projecting net profits in the base case of $34,939 and $57,382 in years 2 and 3, respectively. What is also especially important to note is that Jazz Hands' costs are definable and foreseeable, which greatly reduces the risk for potential future losses. Our main competitor is Melly Music, who charges $85 an hour and only offers 2 main courses, adaptive lessons and music therapy. Jazz Hands can compete by 1, certifying all their in-home instructors as RBTs, 2, offer lower rates, which is already done in the past, charging $75 an hour for that 1 student we mentioned, and 3, most importantly, pull from a plethora of courses that already exist in the Adult Academy, including music production, which is actually a student favorite and something Melly Music does not offer. Altogether, the funding needed to benefit kids on the spectrum and allow music to improve children's social and motor skills comes to $24,535. In all 3 cases, we enjoy economies of scale by increasing the number of students per instructor and thus reducing labor costs as a percentage of revenue. In summary, Jazz Hands has the tools necessary to put this venture into action now and be able to capitalize on expansion opportunities through partnerships to grow the enterprise in the future.
The incidence of autism is rising approximately 15% every 2 years, making the need for our services very critical. With your help, we can make music the breakthrough for many kids with autism. Thank you.
Thank you. Betsy, will you take over the questioning?
Yes, here we are. All right. In this instance, I will ask Russell to be our first commentator.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. I don't see myself, but
No.
Well, I was most impressed with how you define your marketplace, and it should be very easy to identify prospective customers. My experience in these kinds of startups is that they always take longer and they cost more. So I would like to see some more sensitivity analysis and kind of a backup plan in the sense of if the business doesn't grow as fast as you expect it to, what are you going to do, and how are you going to be able to fall back and expand your marketing activities?
Thank you. Anhil, what say you?
Angel says that Russell raises some very good points. I had a comment about about the scaling and having a plan B given, the current situation we're in. But let me just put that in the parking lot for now. But the first thing I wanted to say was that I really like the idea of how you're going to leverage your existing capabilities to then roll into another segment of need. And I thought that you all had a great story. It's one of those stories that really pulls at the hearts and minds of people who are now becoming more familiar with the challenges that we have with autism in our society. And then the other thing I liked was that you're looking at those partnership opportunities. So that might be an opportunity for you to address some of the scaling issues that Russell just raised. But the other thing that I thought, and maybe I missed it, but is how are you going to evaluate? I mean, how do you evaluate your impact? But I said overall, I thought that your storytelling was great. I thought the use of the video, having a participant and a beneficiary of the work be a proponent for your work, I thought was really clever and smart. So, my hat's off to you, and really great work.
Thank you. All right. How about Anne?
Similar. I personally really believe in the power of music in this way. So I love that this is already a program that's shown a lot of success for the adult category. And I really like the slide that you had with the video that just was almost a case study. And I think leaning into that of, how this is impacting that individual and seeing metric change for that person is really powerful. And I'd say lean into it even more. And maybe answering the previous question of how do you think about metricable impact? I think all the other judges had great feedback. I think mine is going to be on the physical presentation. There was a lot of information on the slides. And so in the future, if you have a very short amount of time to communicate, I would say put less on the slides and make your points a little bit more impactful so that there's a clear line of what you're hoping that the person listening is going to take away. There was a lot of good information, but I definitely found myself needing to read and then kind of not listen and then listen and read. And so just be aware that in the future presenting, especially with the financial slides, what is your one point that you want them to take away from that particular slide, and how you want them to be thinking when they're asking questions with you later on. So
thanks, Anne. Spoken like someone who's done this once or twice. All right, Claudia.
I'm back. Thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation. I thought it was very well done, and I don't mean to disagree with another judge, but I actually found the slides to be very helpful to me. And I wouldn't change anything personally, but that just shows you how hard it is to actually help everybody appreciate what you're doing. So you may need one slide for one type of group and another slide for another type of group. I guess is what it comes down to. I don't have a lot to add. The only thing is I didn't see anywhere on the slides what the actual cost per child would be. And I think that would be helpful because it shows that you're much more competitive if you're comparing yourself to someone who's charging a much higher fee. So that would be my only question to consider for future presentations. Otherwise, I agree with all the other comments. Thank you.
Well done. All right, with that, I'm going to, we have hit our 5-minute mark, so I'm going to give it back to Andy to set up our final presenter.
Just wanted to say thank you so much for your comments. We really appreciate them.
Yes, thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you both. So dream catchers, while the judges are scoring, will you start sharing your slides? We'll give them a minute or so to do their scoring. There we go.
Betsy, do we have time for me to suggest a couple comments there?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're going to get you first next time, though.
So Evan, you'll be presenting, that's right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna give them a second to do their scoring, and at 5:46, I'm gonna give you the go-ahead to kick off.
Sounds good, thank you.
All good with my audio? Can you hear me okay?
Yes. All right, so when you're ready, kick off.
I met Bernie when I was 15 years old. He was a sailor out on the ocean his whole life until being diagnosed with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. Now on hospice care and nearing the end of his life, Bernie had one final dream: to sail again. I had the honor of meeting Bernie when he was coming. I had the honor of meeting Bernie and working to make this dream come true for him. Surrounded by his friends and his family, his wife approached me on that day and she said, "Caitlin, don't be offended. You know, Bernie doesn't smile much anymore. He doesn't get excited about anything." But on that day, I didn't know a Bernie who wasn't smiling. Bernie passed away a few months after that, and his family took out the same sailboat to scatter his ashes over the ocean. From that day on, Dreamcatchers has grown to a national organization with over 50 chapters, based in high schools and college, made up of students like I was, a high school student dedicated to fulfilling the end-of-life dreams of hospice patients. The core of our mission is connecting generations, building bridges where there's otherwise little to no interaction through this dream fulfillment. Unfortunately, these dreams don't pay for themselves, and Dreamcatchers is lacking a sustainable source of funding, which is why we joined this academy and were paired with this awesome team to come up with this venture that we're calling Dream Care. Now, at its core, Dream Care connects student volunteers to senior citizens who may need help with home tasks, yard work, errands. Maybe they just need a friend. It stays true to our mission of connecting generations and improving the lives of our older citizens. But the best part is all of the profits generated from this will go back into our core mission of fulfilling dreams for people like Bernie. We've all been there, or we're all going to be there at some point, whether it's for a parent, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor. Aging is difficult, and caring for the aging can be even harder. Sometimes we need help to help those that we care about. That's why we're targeting two main customer segments with this venture: senior citizens over the age of 65 and their families. Our program services would help to relieve some of the time and effort that a lot of families spend on caring for their loved ones. Think about it, right now, we're all getting a taste of that social isolation that a lot of seniors face on a daily basis, and it's lonely. In fact, the former US Surgeon General has stated that this prolonged social isolation can be compared to the health risks of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This is a pandemic for our seniors, and it's only exacerbated by our current situation. 10,000 people turn 65 every day. This market is huge and it's booming. In fact, piloting the program here in LA, we already have 1.8 million seniors and growing. And by 2030, 20% of this entire state's population will be made up of senior citizens.
A recent New York Times article highlights the widespread health issue of loneliness in our country. We have included a staggering statistic that approximately 33% of older adults in the United States are socially isolated, and that was before the coronavirus pandemic. And so to change all of this, we are introducing our solution, Dream Care. Youth volunteers will provide 6 main services like picking up groceries to providing companionship for seniors. Customers will be able to schedule these services through our website platform or through contacting their local Dreamcatchers chapter. By purchasing these services, customers will have their chores completed, but more importantly, they will receive interaction and possible sustained connection with young people, which can boost their overall well-being and sense of purpose. And their payment will go to future dreams, which could ultimately impact them yet again down the road. And so this is our solution in action. This venture will enable Dreamcatchers to significantly expand its core mission to potentially all seniors and not just hospice patients. Our two direct competitors are Papa and Mon Ami. Both companies pair youth with senior citizens to provide similar services. However, Papa's pricing is high, and Ubering the role of a personal caregiver can be extremely challenging and has failed in the past. Mon-On-Me is substantially smaller, with its market solely in the Bay Area. Indirect competition, non-medical elder care companies operate in a highly fragmented industry and are known for mediocre at best quality and inconsistent services. So our three key differentiators will enable us to compete effectively, namely our highly motivated volunteers, social mission to fund dreams, and partnerships with senior care providers, which we'll use as a vehicle for marketing purposes. We plan to grow Dream Care through two primary means: expanding geographically and diversifying our revenue streams. Once we've established a successful framework in the LA region, where we have a well-established network of hospices and senior living communities, we will expand into chapters based in Arizona. And that way, more Dreamcatchers members will be able to participate in our labor force. In the meantime, there are two additional revenue streams that we'd like to tap into: branded merchandise such as t-shirts and tote bags, as well as a subscription payment model. The subscription model will allow customers to pay for a package of credits each month at a discounted rate. For example, 10 program credits could be used to cover 2 to 3 Dream Care services like grocery shopping and yard work. This method will enable us to receive more cash up front and help us establish a recurring and loyal customer base. Our team really sets us apart. We have an incredibly passionate, well-qualified team excited about making all of this happen. Caitlin founded Dreamcatchers at the age of 15 and has run the organization since. She provides the entrepreneurial mind which will drive Dream Care forward. Elaine, as Dreamcatchers Director of Operations with a career in management and consulting, will manage the day-to-day operations for the venture. And our board members will be extremely hands-on and active in this new venture. Luke launched and operated a home health care company servicing a similar patient demographic. And Clinton's extensive experience in accounting and finance will inform our financial decisions. Their combined experience, plus a part-time hire to help carry out this venture, will ensure Dream Care's success.
All right, let's talk about the money. So year one sees us piloting this program in the LA area, which based on survey results and market data, we'd estimate about 20% of our customers would opt for this $35 subscription service. And we'd complete about 570 services. Our main costs are inventory and gas reimbursement, and the most notable expenses are a part-time hire and a one-time R&D expense to help revamp the website. In fact, we've also secured a substantial marketing grant to help us run Google search ads that will help drive new customer acquisition. Year two sees growth in revenue attributed to another student chapter opening up in the LA area and more involvement from current Dreamcatchers members in this Dream Care venture. And in year three, we see significant revenue growth due to the expansion into the Arizona area, and we actually end that year with a projected $39,000 in profit. So today we are seeking $45,000 in funding, which would help us cover the first 2 years' expenses, including a more complex website scheduling system. Now, as we saw on the last slide, Dream Care becomes profitable in year two with about $6,000 in profit. And all of the positive cash flows from then on out are going to be able to go back into Dreamcatcher's core mission of fulfilling end-of-life dreams.
COVID-19 has shown a light on the very vulnerable and sensitive aging population worldwide, and the urgency to jumpstart this venture continues to grow each and every day. As someone whose family has been tremendously impacted by this virus, I firmly believe this venture will significantly help those in need, especially during this critical time. And what's more, this virus has increased youth interest in engaging with the elderly, making our venture all the more attractive and likely to grow and scale quickly.
Dream Care is needed today more than ever. Your investment could make more dreams like Bernie's come true and impact lives young and old for years to come. And it all starts here today with you. Thank you so much for considering us.
Thank you very much.
Bravo. All right. I will kick off the round with judges, this time with Matt.
Everybody. So I liked overall. I like the way in which you guys communicated the opportunity, size the market. I would have liked to have seen some more numbers on the slide that talks about market sizing. I know you guys voiced over it, but it's always nice to see that visually. When I think about your business model, I think about three kind of main things. One, customer acquisition costs. I know you mentioned getting a grant for some Google ad searches. That's phenomenal. But what do those look like? That's really a big question for me, as well as what's your customer lifetime value. So the financials, at least the ones that I was given, seem to review kind of at a business level what you're projecting you're going to be able to earn. I'd really be interested in the unit economics. So your customer acquisition cost, your lifetime value, and some sort of churn rate so that you can really make sure that it makes sense on the unit level, and then expand your business model from there. So yeah, that's kind of my big comment on this. And again, thank you guys for taking the time.
Thanks, Matt. Anne, what would you like to add?
Oh, I really, really echo Matt's feedback. But first of all, I would sign up for this. I think this is like one of the most important things on a personal level for me, and I'd love an opportunity to be, one of the users. But yeah, I definitely think the unit economics here are a little confusing, and also the marketing strategy for both seniors and for, the dream makers, or I guess you're calling them dream catchers. So that needs to be a little bit more clear. And also the tech side of this. I think a lot of this is a dual marketplace tech company, and there wasn't, for me at least, a lot of understanding of how you were going to build the technology for the highest quality of experience on both markets. So, quality control on how the users were giving care, how people could give feedback is a big thing of scale. So I'd love to see a little bit more on those two things.
Thank you. Russell.
I was impressed with the progress you've already made and the size of the current market you're serving. It seems to me you have two customers. One is the elder people that you've identified, but you have another customer, and that's your volunteers. And I would like to see more information about how you acquire volunteers, how you train them, how you supervise them, and the costs that are involved in that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Angel.
Yeah, actually, the big question I had was, anytime you start out with talking about being part of a national organization, I think the important thing you want to do, especially when you're raising money locally, is to either let your prospective donor or funder know what your relationship is with national, and if you don't get money from national, lay that out. So my question was, what is the relationship with national, and are you getting any support from national? And then the second one was really, how do you propose working with other low-income people who may be in hospice, et cetera. So those are just two things that I call out. I'm working on that now because my mom's 80 and she's not well. And so this really pulled at my heartstring, and like, Anne, it's important, but as a potential funder or a judge, and to give you feedback, I think that that's an important thing that you want to differentiate, especially when you're talking about being part of 50 chapters and then really laying out how you are different in terms of the national relationship. But I think overall, really well done.
Thank you. Claudia.
All right, thank you for giving this wonderful presentation. It is one of those that tugs at the heartstrings because of how many elderly people really do need the services that you could bring. The question I have was twofold. One, I still didn't quite understand how much you're charging for your services. I know you talked about credits, but that doesn't give me much in terms of what you are anticipating will be the cost for each of the services you will provide. The second thing is that as you are thinking about your volunteers, because it sounds like all of the services are typically being provided by volunteers, I, for one, know how hard it is to marshal a volunteer force to make sure that everyone is actually providing the services. So more about the volunteers and how some of the stats on how responsible they are, what happens when someone doesn't show up. To me, it's like herding cats sometimes. So those would be my two comments.
All right, thank you very much. This concludes the first part of our evening. The judges will now excuse themselves to the green room, and we'll move on to the elevator pitches. Carry on.
I will take over. Thank you, Betsy, and thank you very much to the judges. Good luck in your deliberations, and we look forward to seeing you back relatively soon.
Yes, thank you.
I want to congratulate the presenters, the finalists. But we now go to the second phase of our showcase, in which the other 7 participants in the academy, the other 7 organizations, either a student or a staff member, will give a fast pitch presentation. And then those of you in the audience, at the end of that, each fast pitch is a 3-minute presentation. And then we'll transition to the next organization. And at the end of that, after the 7 presentations, you will have an opportunity to vote for an audience favorite, and that audience favorite will win a $5,000 prize. So pay attention, and it'll. I hope you enjoy it. So I think that the first presentation of a fast pitch is coming from Las Fotos Project. So I think Giselle Cortez, you're doing the presentation. If you start speaking, you'll appear in the speaker view.
I'm here.
Say a few more words. I want to be able to see you on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right, so when you're ready, kick it off.
Sounds good. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Giselle, and I'm a 4th year at UCLA and also a member of Lambda Theta Alpha, the first Latina sorority in the nation. Today, I want to talk to you about my line sister, Metzli. Metzli is one of the most talented photographers that I personally know. Currently, she works as a photojournalist for the Daily Bruin and takes beautiful pictures of graduating Latinx seniors on our very own campus at UCLA. Metzli developed this confidence to pursue her own photography endeavors when she was just a high school student in Las Fotos Project. Las Fotos Project is a Boyle Heights community-based nonprofit organization that inspires teenage girls through photography, mentorship, and self-expression. And they also give the students opportunity to explore their careers. Since 2010, over 1,400 Las Fotos Project students like Metzli have received personalized mentorship from over 350 professional photographers. These photographers have been instrumental in supporting our girls and helping them find their artistic voice and power. Las Fotos students have created over 1 million images that have been seen in various gallery exhibitions and presentations like Teen Vogue and also the United Nations. In 2017, Las Fotos launched their social enterprise. Metzli, my line sister, was part of this first class called the CEO program, which stands for Creative Entrepreneurship Opportunities. And what this program does is they help girls learn technical photography along with business development to help launch their careers. These students are paid for their time on the job, and clients receive images that help them communicate their organization's impact. It's these clients that we think my SEA group and I surveyed over the past 2 quarters. We found that an overwhelming number of them want to continue hiring Las Fotos Project students as event photographers, purchase prints of students' art, as well as have access to a comfortable studio to work in. As a result, our group developed an inclusive venture, which is an online marketplace broken into 3 parts. The first part will host an event booking platform that will facilitate the process of clients who want to book our CEO students. The second is a photo print store showcasing Las Fotos Project's artwork so supporters can purchase their favorite pieces for their homes and offices. And lastly, we have the photo studio booking platform, where these same clients can access a professional photo studio equipped with a CEO student. By continuing engaging these previous customers, we hope to build the community of empowered girls. Our target customers will be organization supporters, local photographers, and event producers, all who choose to work with us because they believe and are invested in the professional development of our girls. We are confident that with the creation of an online marketplace, we will generate a total of $100,000 that will be reinvested back into the photography training program. Ultimately, the long-term impact will be to disrupt a predominantly male industry by developing teen girl professionals like my line sister Metzli, who amplify the skills available in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, we don't have the necessary star funds to develop this venture. We don't have the cash on hand to develop a website and pay for equipment for the studio. That is why today we are asking you for a $5,000 investment, which will ensure that we have the funds to create the website and launch the marketplace. When you invest in our organization, it's not just about launching a business. It's about providing economic development for our girl photographers. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
And thank you. That was great. So we don't have any questions or judges at this time. Just remember in the audience, Las Fotos Project. You maybe want to write that down. And we will transition now to the LGBTQ Center of Long Beach. And I believe that Porter Gilbert will be presenting. Is that correct?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And now you're on the screen, so that's great.
Okay, wonderful.
When you are ready, go ahead and kick it off.
Got it. Well, Quinta is a transgender woman who, after receiving our training, finally felt comfortable coming out as transgender to all of her peers at work. She told us, "I always knew I had the right to come out at work, but I never knew I would have the support until now." Hi, my name is Porter Gilbert, and I am Executive Director for the LGBTQ Center Long Beach. The center is the nexus of our movement, advancing equity for LGBTQ people through advocacy, education, and programming. Our team of 23 serves 25,000 people a year. According to a Glassdoor survey, 70% of LGBTQ people said they would not apply to work at a company that does not support its LGBTQ employees. Our workplace training venture, Toolkit, that's QIT for Queer Inclusive Training, will solve this issue by creating the opportunity for employees to feel safe in the workplace and for companies to reap the profits of having a more diverse workforce. We will be offering LGBTQ competency trainings for healthcare, education, nonprofit, corporate, and government employees. Providing LGBTQ competency trainings is important not only because it's often required, but because it ensures all employees feel included, creating a wholesome workplace where every employee can be treated equally and be more productive. Unlike online LGBTQ training courses, our social enterprise is fully customizable, immersive, and engaging. This ensures that employees are really taking valuable knowledge away from the training and will be more likely to implement this knowledge in their daily lives. We are charging a base hourly rate for this training and for the prep it takes to make our training possible. Customizations like specialized topics, group size, and program materials can be included for an additional rate. We've estimated the market size for our service to be around $1.4 million, but bringing greater awareness to our services and the importance of these trainings are vital to increasing our consumer base and revenue. Thus, our biggest challenge in creating more inclusive workplaces in Southern California is customer acquisition. As such, marketing will be one of our largest initial costs. Besides that, the venture has low fixed upfront costs since we already developed these trainings. We expect to generate net profits in the first year, and with aggressive client acquisition efforts, we expect to make an annual profit of close to $30,000 by year 3. Take the next step towards an inclusive workspace with the LGBTQ Center Long Beach. Together, we can create a world where each and every one of us lives and thrives in celebrated authenticity.
Thank you very much. Again, everyone, write that down. Remember the names of these organizations and the ones that you like. First Star, you'll be next. Jesus, Renega, you're going to be the presenter, I believe. Are you here? Or do we have a different presenter? Is there, we may, I don't see Jesus logged in here. So we may have to circle back on First Star and figure out what has happened there. So let us do that. And so we're going to go to United Way of Inland Valleys. I'm sorry. Dominique Nguyen, you'll be presenting. There we go, United Way of Inland Valleys. So Dominique, do you want to say a few words so that we can see your face? And then when you're ready, we'll kick it off.
Okay, can everyone hear me fine and see me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
When you're ready, go ahead.
Okay. Homelessness an issue that many of us witness here in Los Angeles and Westwood. We see it all around us, but what makes it even more real is the fact that there are students at UCLA, USC, LA community colleges, and all across the nation that experience homelessness even as we speak. We would never know, but they can be people we walk by on Broonwalk, classmates we sit next to in lectures, or maybe there are even people on this call who have experienced or are going through homelessness right now. The thing is, there are plenty of individuals out there who are really passionate to find a solution to an issue within their community, whether that be finding solutions to the homelessness crisis or any other kind of social issue. But the thing is, they don't have the financial or overall guidance to achieve their goals. This is where our venture, fiscal sponsorship, can have a significant and lasting impact. We're the United Way of the Inland Valley, and our mission is to unite people, ideas, and resources with the community to improve lives. By offering different programs to our local community, we are striving to help all individuals achieve education, financial stability, and housing. For the past 18 months, though, we've been asking ourselves, how do we keep on scaling this impact? And this question is what has led us here today. With fiscal sponsorship, we effectively offered individuals our tax-exempt status as well as back-end and fundraising support, so they can fulfill their desire to help out their communities. For every hour of accounting, bookkeeping, HR, and fundraising assistance that we're doing for our clients, we're enabling these organizations to devote more time to working on achieving their charitable mission. So essentially, we're handling all the nitty-gritty work that helps these organizations run smoothly so they can focus on the things that truly matter. None of this would be possible without our key asset, which is the United Way of the Inland Valley staff members. They have the expertise to provide these services to numerous nonprofits who hold uniquely powerful missions. Our management team has 5 years of experience working together at United Way and a combined total of 70 years of fundraising and management experience. Our experience in bookkeeping and accounting allows us to effectively provide back-end support, whereas our fundraising expertise enables us to offer fundraising help that allows nonprofits working with us to receive an even greater sum of donations and grants to fulfill their charitable missions. Ultimately, by choosing this venture, you're choosing to fund an enterprise that will impact a variety of different organizations and causes. The per dollar impact of funding our venture will allow us to empower numerous nonprofits at a time. You can help fund the next project that can significantly improve the lives of students transitioning through homelessness, the next project that promotes literacy and academic success amongst disabled children, or even the next project that improves community wealth through policy change. There are other incredible stories of individuals yearning to create nonprofits or organizations to tackle a multitude of social issues. With fiscal sponsorship, they'll be able to do so as we provide the guidance and support that can transform an idea into a real experience and overall impact numerous communities throughout the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everyone's keeping to the 3-minute timeline. So that was United Way of the Inland Valleys. Next, we're going to have Safe Place for Youth, or SPY. And the presenter for SPY is Ann McGregor. And if you go ahead and say a few things, you'll come up on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And now we
Great.
see you. And
Hi.
When you're ready, go ahead and.
Great. Good evening. My name is Ann, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Safe Place for Youth. We call it SPY for short. And I'm thrilled to represent SPY and share tonight our promising social impact venture with you. There are over 4,000 homeless youth ages 18 to 25 in Los Angeles who are faced with daily struggles that include worrying about their safety, finding their next meal, where they might sleep, and how they can access a bathroom. Last year, SPY served 45% of these individuals. When someone first enters SPY, they are offered immediate care such as showers, clothing, and food. And from there, they're connected to our extensive programming, which includes health, housing, and workforce development, such as our healing arts and garden internship programs. SPY has a working community garden located in the heart of Venice. It's in this green oasis where our venture will come to life, sustainable lifestyle classes. These classes offer team building and connection opportunities to community members, coworkers, and friends, while learning and enjoying arts and gardening skills with classes such as lip balm making, succulent potting, and pesto making workshops from items grown in our garden. For each class, an intern will be paired up with a professional from the community to co-teach, giving them the opportunity to not only gain employment experience and other important skills, but also feel empowered. Priced at an average of $40, our classes surpass all comparable offerings in value and will return a profit as early as the first year. Through our market research, our addressable market is over 80,000 people on the west side of Los Angeles. And this is driven by 20 to 35-year-olds, middle and upper class Angelenos, many of whom are more than ever eager to do activities in their community, especially in the safety of the outdoors. To reach this market audience, we'll leverage SPY's growing network of supporters, which includes local celebrities like Food Network star Giada De Laurentiis and corporations like Snapchat, Tom's, and Dollar Shave Club. Additionally, we'll utilize social media and platforms like Airbnb Experiences to extend our reach. We know that the work that we're doing to promote stability, healing, and empowerment in the lives of young people experiencing homelessness is revolutionary. Our youth garden interns have told us that their time in the garden has not only offered professional skills, but has positively benefited their mental health and well-being. Our agency is eager to invest in the futures of our youth, build community connections, and find sustainable fundraising solutions to keep our services going. Through your support and funding, we can hit the ground running with this powerful venture. Not only do we benefit our customers by offering affordable skill classes and the opportunity to make community connections, but we are also helping homeless youth build workforce development skills while giving them a living income. An investment into this venture is an investment into the health of our community. I hope you'll choose to support us at Safe Place for Youth today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. We had a little bit of, well, that was SPY, so remember that, write that down. We had a little bit of a technical issue with First Star, but I think we can go back now and do First Star. So if we go back and put the logo up there, Christian, yep. And if Jesus, if you say a few words, I think we'll see you and I can get you to kick off.
Yeah. Awesome. Can you guys hear me? Is this connection okay?
Excellent. Yes. So when you're ready, go ahead and give us the pitch.
420,000 young people end up in foster care every year in the United States. Only 50% of foster youth graduate high school and less than 3% earn a college degree. Within 2 years of aging out of the system, many are homeless, incarcerated, or on welfare. Our nonprofit is reversing that. 98% of First Star scholars graduate from high school and 89% go on to college. First Star partners with universities to establish First Star Academies on college campuses and provide high school foster youth across the country with college prep programming and mentorship. We wanted to take the impact First Star makes one step further and show that these scholars that the whole community is behind them in their efforts to transform their lives for the better. That's why we created Starbound, a street market styled event that will empower foster students by giving them access to resources and showing them that their community supports them. This event will be organized as a large pop-up shop and community fair where vendors will have the opportunity to set up a booth and sell their products and services. The first event will take place on the IM Fields at UCLA, where we'll be able to fit about 80 different vendors. To raise proceeds, we will charge each vendor $350 for a booth at the event, and First Star will be the sole vendor of water. A percentage of the proceeds will be set aside to give each foster youth a gift card of $150 to spend at the event. The remaining profits will be funneled back into First Star's main programming. This way, Starbound will benefit and empower the youth both in the short term and the long term. For most of these students, receiving these gift cards at the event will be the first time in their lives where they can treat themselves to something nice and have the autonomy to choose what they want to spend their money on. From living a nightmare with no family or support, we are giving them access to living a dream. Even if it's just for a day, this event will give them some value and some hope to bring forth a new future. Normally it costs thousands for vendors to set up on campus, and Starbound brings these vendors to campus for just a fraction of the cost. At such a low price and high volume of customers, vendors would jump at the opportunity to access a large supply of university students and target consumers. After a successful run at UCLA, we hope to expand Starbound to all 13 First Star campuses, which span both coasts of the United States and has access to over 500,000 students. In just the first year, Starbound could generate a net income of over $17,000. By the third year, Starbound could expand onto 7 campuses and generate a net income of over $178,000. With your help, Starbound could continue advancing First Star's mission by empowering foster youth now and in the future. Let's make these kids starbound.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we're going to move forward. So that was first star. We're going to move forward to the Mentor Me Learning Project. And our presenter there will be Reagan Passmore. So Reagan, if you say a few words, we can see you and then we'll kick it off. Did we lose?
Is the audio working?
There you are. Excellent.
Awesome. Okay.
So when you're ready, go ahead.
Have you ever met a student with an abundance of potential, but lacks some of the systematic tools needed to excel? Maybe they were held back by their family's financial status, or just didn't fit the mold that broad-based traditional schooling required them to become. But you knew they had talent and could succeed if only someone was willing to invest in them as an individual. This is the problem Mentor Me Learning strives to solve with their adaptable, non-traditional mentorship program. My name is Reagan. I've been fortunate to work alongside Ashley and her team at Mentor Me Learning to develop their newest venture, Mentor Me on the Road, which is designed to financially support Mentor Me Learning so it may continue to offer these personal development programs to all students, regardless of their socioeconomic background or school they attend. Mentor Me on the Road is a 2-week summer mentorship program which develops students' personal narrative. In phase 1 of the program, The Power of Me, students engage in personal development workshops, identifying their passions and skills. Phase 2 of the program, called The Power of Community, takes students around LA where they explore targeted career paths, social causes, and connects them with various community leaders. The final phase, The Power of Me in the Community, empowers students to find who they want to become and teaches them how to reach that goal. This curriculum is supported by powerful and dynamic partnerships like LA Galaxy and Blizzard Entertainment. Our competitive advantages lie in our curriculum being adaptable for online education, being established as a verified vendor for homeschool networks, encouraging the exploration of not only colleges but also trade schools, and our curriculum is crafted in such a way as to allow flexibility depending on the individual needs of each student. Mentor Me is establishing the next generation of social innovators and change makers. We've already seen results. One student, named Jenna, joined Mentor Me's program as a dispassionate youth and ended up personally designing an all-girls youth home. We connected another student, Gabriel, with LA Galaxy's Director of Operations, and now we set his sights on a professional career in the operational side of a sport he already loved. We're marketing this venture toward affluent families because individualized mentorship is an invaluable opportunity for every student struggling to fit in a cookie-cutter education system. The profits generated from this venture will help Mentor Me's parent venture, Mentor Me Learning, continue to reach non-affluent students struggling at school, regardless of their household income status, so that we can cultivate a brighter future for tomorrow, today. And you can be a part of this change. Currently, this venture is on track to fully sustain Mentor Me's longer financially aided program in year 3. But with your help, we can reduce our overhead for the first and second years, acquire a bus to allow for higher enrollment each year, and bring that year 3 milestone closer to the present. Especially now, given the current circumstances, we recognize that Mentor Me can be a support system for some of the hardest hit students and communities. We hope you'll consider joining us in investing in our underserved youth. Thank you.
Thank you. So we next go to Thomas House Family Shelter, and Mega Ilango, I think, is the presenter.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Give us a second. When you're ready, kick it off.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mega. I'm a third-year student at UCLA. Today, I'm representing Thomas House Family Shelter, which is a nonprofit organization that serves homeless families in the Orange County area. Over the years, many children and families have had their lives changed through Thomas House's service. I'll start by describing the story of just one resident, Sandra Cruz. Sandra had grown up in a family that had an environment of domestic violence and had sought shelter at Thomas House with her mom and sister. At the shelter, she received housing, food, and most importantly, a safe environment to grow up in. With their support, she was able to graduate and be accepted to UC Berkeley. Thomas House serves dozens of families such as Sandra's. Their mission is to provide a safe, supportive environment and the resources necessary for homeless families with children to remain together and empower them to become independent and self-sufficient. Rather than just house families for a short time, they offer comprehensive services for them to find permanent housing and become self-sufficient. There are up to 150 individuals that Thomas House Shelter supports each year. The shelter finances the organization entirely on donations. The purpose of this venture is to form a consistent revenue stream that will help them expand their services while providing invaluable career training for their resident families. Our business model is a physical and online thrift shop that sells Thomas House Shelter's excess donations and upcycled crafted goods. The customer base of this proposed thrift shop will include donors, low-income families, and community college students in the local community. Because Thomas House receives quality items for free and will have low operating costs, they will be able to offer higher quality goods for a lower cost compared to local competitors. According to our base case financial model, the annual operating cost for the first 3 years is around $200,000 to $300,000. Although the current social and economic climate is challenging for any brick and mortar retailer, we believe that a thrift shop that is specifically designed to serve the needs of the surrounding low-income community is the optimal retail venture for these times. The online component especially will be an avenue that has a low startup cost and makes us unique compared to warehouse-style competitors. We expect the shop to cost a net total of around $100K in the first 3 years and begin turning a profit of $31K in year 3. If we are able to receive donated and volunteer services, as Thomas House has had skill for doing in the past in previous initiatives, the store could potentially be profitable from the first year and make more than $300,000 in the first 3 years. But more than the financial return of this venture, the social impact is especially important to focus on. We want Thomas House to be able to serve many more students like Sandra far into the future. We want a Thomas House in 10 to 15 years where we have a retail job training program for residents, in-house childcare and after-school programs, and a larger space for residents. With additional resources, we will expand to serve at-risk population beyond just the Thomas House resident families. Sandra has now successfully graduated from UC Berkeley and is serving as a youth support specialist at Thomas House, helping support the organization that gave her so much opportunity. This just demonstrates that the work that Thomas House is doing is so much more than just impacting one life. It's about improving the communities and the world around it. We urge you to support this venture that will help Thomas House work towards a better future. Thank you.
And thank you very much. So those were our 7 fast pitches. Christian, I'll ask you to launch the poll so that everyone can vote for their favorite, of the fast pitches, of the 7 fast pitches. And then I want to introduce, so there's the poll. Everyone should be able to see it and choose. But while you're voting, I want to introduce Archie Holton. This enterprise, you've met Betsy, you've met me. It really takes 3 of us as the core, Archie, Betsy, and myself, to make this happen. I'm going to turn it, he's also the most vibrant presenter of the whole group. Archie is going to take over and say a little bit about our keynote speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Great job to all the students and nonprofits. It's been really killer. So here's my part of the evening. I get the opportunity to introduce our keynote. So Patrick Maloney. Patrick is a nationally recognized leader in the clean technology sector of businesses, a lifelong entrepreneur who's got about 12 years experience already in energy and technology spaces. Patrick is dedicated to building world-altering positive businesses that align profitability with purpose. He founded Inspired with the vision to answer the call to millions of customers demanding action on climate change by connecting them to the world's first clean energy platform. This is a man that knows both sides, and we're really, really lucky to have him today. So I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, Patrick Maloney. That'd be you, Patrick.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
All
Thanks
right.
for being here.
Can you guys see me as well?
Yes.
Yes, all right, great. Well, first of all, Artie, thank you so much for that kind and extremely generous introduction. As you heard, my name is Patrick Maloney, and I'm the founder and CEO of Inspire. Just as a simple introduction, Inspire is a clean energy technology company. We're also a B Corp that makes it easy for consumers to access clean energy by providing it as a simple subscription service. It truly is an honor to be able to be here to speak with all of you today, surrounded by so many social entrepreneurs. I've had a chance to review the videos of previous years and participate in today's competition. I'm just so impressed by the ideas and the passion and the innovation by so many folks who've joined and invested so much of their time and blood, sweat, and tears with that core mission of doing a lot of good and also seeking to do really well. For me, it's really just a testament to the growing movement and ecosystem that's evolved around social enterprise and social entrepreneurship. And this event and these companies are just resounding examples of that. So I'm honored to be here. When I was asked to do this, candidly, I didn't know what to say at first. Unlike so many of you, I didn't actually go to school to learn social entrepreneurship or social enterprise. I didn't work for a mission-driven company or spend time working for a nonprofit. I really kind of came here on my own as the result of just some lessons learned and, candidly, some luck and some happy accidents. In a perfect world, I would have done both. I'd love to have been participating in this type of competition when I was a rising senior, about to graduate. So everyone who's here, kudos to you. You guys have a massive head start, and I'm sure are going to lap me in a few years. But I am happy to stand here today, hopefully as some kind of proof to many of you that the companies that want to do good can also do really well. And so I thought that what I'd do today is actually just use the time to tell you a bit about kind of my personal story. The story that kind of starts with capitalism and ends, at least today, with social entrepreneurship. So I'll just begin at the beginning. So just by way of background, I grew up in Chicago, kind of middle-class neighborhood, single mother, kind of that standard story you kind of often hear of that, of that world, fairly resource insecure. It taught me a lot of things. I think most importantly, what it taught me was just some unbelievable lessons that I really personally believe are just foundational to being a successful entrepreneur in any area, whether it's 100% for-profit, social enterprise, or otherwise. The principles of just resilience and relentless optimism are just so foundational to being successful. I think, in your 20s, there's kind of sometimes an idea that you'd love to go out and, maybe one day be an entrepreneur, maybe when you're teens. I can assure you it is not easy. And it's going to take an unbelievable amount of relentless optimism to believe that, with enough passion and enough purpose, you might just be able to go out and not only create something that hopefully creates a lot of value, but in parallel, in this context, also creates a huge impact on the world. So growing up without, really resources, or just, put it simply, without money, I was kind of determined to solve that problem. Or kind of in startup speak, the problem to be solved was to make money. And for me, the kind of solution at the time was to build a business. And, I was always passionate about the environment, but what I didn't even consider was the chance to actually build a business that might be a conduit to addressing the environmental issues we were experiencing. My understanding at the time was just that, impact was something you did after you had already amassed a ton of resources. It was kind of that industrialist view of the world of create a significant amount of wealth. And then once you have that wealth, now you can use it in philanthropy to kind of impact the causes that you really cared about. But I kind of never had access to a competition or class like this that maybe would have taught me that, no, actually, maybe you can make impact intrinsic to the model. Maybe you can create a business model that does extremely well while also doing a ton of good. And so with that in mind, I worked hard and sought to get into a good school, and ultimately graduated with a determination to go into entrepreneurship. So in 2007, I graduated. The next day, joined 2 other folks in the founding of a business within the energy sector. And candidly, we were lucky. The timing was perfect, and there was kind of rapidly evolving consumer preferences and regulatory landscapes, and the underlying technology in that industry was beginning to fragment and disrupt the status quo in a way that was really favorable for us to enter. We were lucky enough to build a company that it solved a core consumer need. Energy powers every piece of our life, and we were able to deliver a better product with a business model that was highly scalable and also really profitable, that ultimately created a ton of value for our shareholders. And I can kind of go on and on about this, but suffice to say that we were lucky enough to do well, and we started with 3 of us, and grew that to a couple hundred, and we started with a piece of paper and of course $0 in revenue, and ultimately we're able to grow that well into the 9 figures. And I think, of course, the pinnacle of entrepreneurship, at least as we're often told, is the moment of exit. We were fortunate enough to exit, for nearly $200 million, when we only put about $5 million or so into that venture. And I learned a ton during that time. I learned, of course, how to take a piece of paper and grow that through to scale, and how to drive kind of a high-performing culture and organize people to achieve a business outcome. Of course, learned the importance of just high commercial performance, profitability, and scale. The idea that you must have a business model that can self-sustain and be in scale to great heights if you want to have any sort of financial impact in the world. It's just things that make money grow, and things that don't often ultimately don't. So I'm so grateful to learn those lessons. But I think for me, what I learned most, I think what's most important as it relates to to our time here today, was the thing that I learned was really, for me, the thing that was missing. And I know this is an age-old story that so many of us hear, but I'll tell you a personal example for me, which I think hopefully highlights the piece of the journey, which was, I remember the day that we sold, and it was supposed to be, of course, that pinnacle of the journey, the best day of the story. And I remember it was 2011, and kind of mobile banking was kind of an emerging kind of technology, and you're kind of checking to see as you're reloading, hopefully, as the transaction closed. And all of a sudden the transaction closed, and you kind of are expecting this unbelievable feeling, this unbelievable success. And what I just felt was this vacant emptiness. It was for me this deep feeling of, what was it all for? We had been enormously successful, yet I just didn't think that the world was any better or any different from us having existed. Sure, we created a great company and culture, and we were able to grow, but the piece that was missing for me was just the purpose, the impact. It was just kind of not there. And so it caused for me just a period of deep reflection. It was a moment that I realized the oasis was a mirage. I had spent my whole life believing that, growing up resource insecure, that the moment we'd find security would be the moment that kind of everything came into clarity. And what I found was that there's just no actual intrinsic value in money beyond its use. There's no happiness, there's no satisfaction, there's no enlightenment, there's no nothing, at least for me. And again, I know this is a story that so many have experienced. And for me, what that caused me to ask was, what would it look like if we had created a model that, intrinsic to the success of that model, was a massive amount of impact that we could have on the world? What would it look like if the model itself, by the virtue of doing business, we would simultaneously have impact? What would that look like? And for me, I just realized I needed more. And so I took some time off to reflect on that. And, you know, I considered a whole bunch of different models, many models that we're exploring here today. You know, I considered nonprofit work. What would it look like to spend some time investing my time in the areas of nonprofit to be able to have impact on issues that I cared about? And ultimately, I was reminded of a graph that I had seen. And it was a graph that showed the rate of CO2 emissions in the last 400,000 years. And over the last 100 years, what you'd find is all of a sudden we started to see a normal range of carbon emissions that just began to take a kind of meteoric rise over the last 100 years, and that continued to accelerate over the last 50. We started to see the correlation of that to rising temperatures, or at least more erratic temperatures and rising temperatures within our atmosphere. Then I just kind of began to see the correlation between that and the rising temperatures and the impact to society. You know, most notably, the most vulnerable among us were actually the ones who were going to be most dramatically affected by this changing climate. And the last piece of the puzzle for me was ultimately that when I looked at where those sources of carbon emissions were coming from, the number one source of carbon emissions at the global level was ultimately coming from the electricity sector. So in that moment, it kind of became clear to me that if we really wanted to address that issue the fastest, the way we had to do that was to rapidly decarbonize the electricity sector. And so I began to think about, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's an interesting macro problem. But at the end of the day, I tend to believe that the world moves the fastest when the consumer is king. You know, when consumers choose a different world, there's a real consumer need, a huge problem, they decide they want that solution, you can move it at an exponential pace. You know, we kind of need that Uber Lyft moment or the Airbnb moment to happen in the energy sector. And so at the same time, I kind of remember this simple consumer insight that was shared to me, which was just that the average US homeowner was burning the equivalent of 8,000 pounds of coal every single year. It just seemed crazy to me, the idea that every one of us that lives in an average home in the US was effectively burning about 8,000 pounds of coal in terms of our carbon emissions. And yet we weren't doing anything about it. You know, you can kind of look out your window and see your neighbor, you know, stepping across glass to go put a piece of plastic in the recycling bin. And yet at the same time, it would take 15 years of that activity every single day to have the same amount of impact you could have if you could just eliminate the carbon emissions from the energy that powers your life. So it just felt like to me at some point the bozo switch was going to hit, and pretty soon there'd be a societal change that kids were going to start to kind of hold their parents accountable, ask questions about this issue. And this was in 2013. I didn't really realize that a few years later, there'd be millions of people marching in the streets, beginning to demand action on climate, and realizing that clean energy was the biggest kind of sword in that fight. So a couple of things that became clear to me, I think, and just to kind of back it down simply. The first is that climate change is the greatest social and environmental problem facing our generation, at least in my personal assessment. The changing climate, the impact that's going to have on the society and our environment is the largest problem facing our generation. And at the same time, solving that problem, the company that solves that problem also has the greatest financial opportunity. With massive problems, there are always massive opportunities for those who could solve them. And the ability to potentially combine these things could also just create the greatest, most scalable social impact that also could create a ton of value for customers and for shareholders. And so with that in mind, we asked, how could we? At least that was my core question. Is knowing those things, how can we? And so we asked, how can we create a product that solved a massive consumer need, that also solved a huge social and environmental problem? It was intrinsic to solving that consumer need, not something we also did, but by virtue of customers saying yes to our product, would have a one-to-one correlation with the impact that we could have. And the hypothesis was that if we could do that, we might just be able to scale it quickly. And in parallel, just have an enlightened self-interest where the better we did inspire, the better the world did, and the better our customers did. It's kind of the magic kind of enlightened self-interest, the alignment of all three of those. And so we set out to actually develop a business that could achieve that goal. The simple idea was to develop a technology that made it easy for consumers to access clean energy by providing it as a simple subscription service. Solve the core product or problem that they need, but just improve on that experience. And then intrinsically link the choice to the impact that they could have, meaning every time a customer says yes, we're able to immediately transition and avoid that carbon impact. And how do we make sure that when we do that, we have a profitable business model that can scale? You know, again, just come back to this simple idea that things that make money can scale, and things that don't make money tend to scale much more slowly if they scale at all. So to be clear, you know, I had no experience in mission-driven companies. You know, as I share, there's kind of no experience within social enterprise. To me, this was just the thing that was clear to me after going through the journey of realizing that for me, the thing that was missing with purpose was purpose, and the need to actually create a model that was driven on a mission that I cared about, and that in the success of it would have a huge impact on the world while also doing well for all stakeholders. And learned a lot along the way. So you know, I think the first thing I learned was just the power of mission, but also at the same time, the power of making sure that that mission has a highly scalable and sustainable business model behind it. And I remember when I first began seeking to raise capital for this idea, I made some mistakes. I think one of the first mistakes I made was I would go into an investment meeting, I'd say things like, hey, listen, if you want to go invest in an entrepreneur that's going to tell you that I'm going to take your dollars and return more dollars in a short period of time, then you're just investing in the wrong person. Because what drives me and what drives this company is the mission to have a massive impact in the world. And I believe that any company that has a huge impact on the world and does it in a scalable and profitable way is going to create far greater and far more sustainable returns for investors. You kind of have to believe that premise. And, you know, early on, I think that sometimes that kind of landed flat. You know, investors care about respecting the capital. There's something, you know, sacred that happens when someone gives you money. Sometimes the idea of kind of venture capital and investors is, well, we'll just take the money, and if we win, great, and if we don't, we'll just try again. Well, that's really not the way it works. When someone gives a business money, there's a sacred moment that happens when they expect a return on that capital. And so the thing I learned was the importance of making sure our mission was intrinsically linked to the success and the financial outcomes of our business. The second thing we learned along the way was just the importance of kind of scalable social impact. Meaning the greater and the more profitable our business model, inherently the faster we could grow. And if growth is one-to-one linked with our impact, the greater the world does. But all those things have to be in alignment. It can't be something that's kind of a second thing to do, or an also, you know, and we also have impact over here. You can do that, but I think what I learned was that if it's not intrinsically linked to the activity of the business, what can happen over time is just that it becomes the first thing to get cut, or the first thing to get, you know, shuttered in a difficult time. But when it's one-to-one, you can truly have sustainable, highly scalable growth. And I think the last thing I learned was just the importance of performance together with passion. You know, I'd often say that the happy accident I had was just the realization that this was my mission and that I needed to achieve. And then I just kind of came to the awareness that when you have an important mission, there just often tends to be so many people who also care passionately about that type of cause. And often you can find a ton of very passionate people, but what you really need to do is not just find passionate people who care about your mission, but also people who have the skills and the experiences and the willingness to go out and actually make it happen. It's kind of a must win. It's a need to win because the mission is so great. So all of those things were things, mistakes and lessons we learned across the way. And it turns out that when those things are in alignment, you kind of a noble mission together with a massive consumer problem or need, together with a kind of business model that's profitable and scalable, and lastly, that's intrinsically linked to impact, it kind of creates this magic flywheel of scale, which I think so many of you guys have learned about and thought hard about how do we use models like that to drive impact causes that we care about? So I can kind of go on and on about some of the experiences that we've had, but over the last 6 years, we've been fortunate to grow Inspire from 2 of us and a piece of paper to kind of well over 150 people and well over 9 figures in revenue. But I think more importantly isn't just those numbers, it's really that the outcome of that, the reason we do it is the impact that we've had, which is over 3.3 billion pounds of carbon emissions eliminated from the atmosphere, over 1.5 billion, or effectively about 1.5 billion pounds of coal not burned as a result of members joining the Inspire platform. And in the process of that, we've also linked to our business model the world in which for every customer who joins Inspire, we actually use some of those proceeds to then fund microgrid projects globally that provide access to education and healthcare and clean water to communities in need that can access those now through clean energy and resilient microgrids. So over 63,000 people in Nepal and Colombia are now benefiting in a one-to-one. But again, the reason that works is because for every customer that joins, we're able to use some of that to then fund these projects. And it only works when it makes Inspire better so that we can have greater amounts of impact. And at this, ultimately we're just getting started. It's what is core. Everything we must do needs to further our mission. We ultimately need to drive impact. It needs to be scalable. It needs to drive profitable growth so we can keep growing. It's kind of the flywheel of what we call sustainable social impact. So hopefully that story was helpful today. I'm so encouraged to spend time with this community. I know there's so many amazing entrepreneurs working on so many important ideas. I'm always happy to be available to anyone who's seeking mentorship as they seek to achieve their mission. So feel free to reach out through the forum if I can be helpful in any way.
Well, inside of that vein, what would you say your advice to students are on how to find purpose in a for-profit business?
In a for-profit business. So, I think the first thing I would say would just be that from my perspective, it has to start from moment one. It has to be, again, intrinsic to the business. There are certainly many businesses that over time realize that they have a social responsibility and then create, kind of corporate social responsibility initiatives. What I've tended to observe over time is how in moments of distress, whether that be global pandemics or recessions, those are often the first things to get cut. And so for me, you have to build, if you want to build a social enterprise or be a social entrepreneur, impact needs to be linked intrinsically one-to-one to the success of the business. Because that therein means that there's never a moment in which you're not aligned to the impact you seek to have, because it's actually a one-to-one alignment with the growth and success of the business and the platform. Does that answer the question?
It does. I've got one more for you.
Sure.
At this stage in their career, what advice do you have for the students in finding their employment?
Sure. I think it's a great question. I so many times, speak to kind of rising seniors or, young, passionate, ambitious, future graduates about this question. And, oftentimes when you ask them, they say, well, I think what I probably need to do is I need to go, work at a really prestigious investment bank or a really prestigious, management consulting firm, kind of build my resume. And what I would personally say is the most important thing you can do, especially at the early stage of your career, is just focus on the principle of proximity. And what I mean by that is specifically, how can I put myself in proximity to the person I can learn the most from? I have the greatest, steepest learning curve. And so for me, I was, I kind of organized myself around that principle when I was young. And instead of choosing a prestigious investment bank or management consulting firm, I chose to partner with an entrepreneur who had previously built highly scaled businesses to 20,000 plus employees and ran public companies. And so for me, I gained access one-to-one with that level of proximity in a way that I could have never gained working within an investment bank or kind of any of these other traditional blue chip first jobs or second jobs. And so my advice would just be spend your time focusing on how you can put yourself in a position of the fastest rate of learning, because that investment in yourself is ultimately going to pay back over the course of your lifetime.
Thank you very much, Patrick. We appreciate you being here this evening and contributing and leading the way. So thank you for being a part of tonight.
Thank you. Congrats to everyone who's participating, and thank you guys for putting this on. It's amazing.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you. And I believe that we have Betsy Dinsmore back in the house.
Yes, you do. And the judges.
And there you go. We want to see you.
Yes, I know.
Should I make a drum roll?
It was hard. I have to say that all the presentations were really well done, and as usual, our judges had to struggle a little bit, but in the end, I am pleased to report the following awards. We are awarding Jazz Hands for Autism $13,000. We are awarding Los Alamitos Youth Center $11,000, and we are awarding Dreamcatchers $6,000. And I would say that the amounts are correlate to how tight and how quickly, how tight each of your business plans were and how quickly the judges thought you would be able to launch. But I would also say that one of the things that we loved is that all of you have businesses that make sense, they're viable, they have markets, there's needs. And we think that you're also all far enough along so that you have the traction to now tweak your pitches a little bit, do whatever tweaking you still have to do on your pitch and your plan, and target investors that are sympathetic to what you're doing. And we're sure that you will succeed. So congratulations to everybody. Bravo, bravo, bravo. And keep us posted.
Hooray!
Yay!
So congratulations to the finalists. There's one more award that I can go ahead and announce. The voting in the audience favorite was very close. So I congratulate the fast pitchers for the jobs that you did. But the audience favorite award goes to Safe Place for Youth, SPY. So congratulations to them. That's an award of $5,000.
Wow, very nice.
Ta-da.
So I guess I'll finish up. Again, I want to thank everyone. This is the conclusion of our show. If we were doing this in person, we would be releasing you to refreshments and to mingle and congratulate each other. I very much regret that we cannot do that
this year.
Environment. So I encourage you to have it legal or illegal to celebrate at home. We all can celebrate at home. This has been a wonderful achievement, I think, for everyone to get to this showcase and to do such a spectacular job. So thank you all for that, and congratulations to everyone.
Andy, before you wrap up, may I have a few words?
Certainly.
Thank you. I just want to make a point which you touched on earlier, which is that we can't do this alone. We don't do it alone. We're particularly grateful for the fact that each year we have program sponsors who underwrite this endeavor. We can use more of them, but we are blessed that we have over the years, and this managed always, to find people to support us. Moreover, we have many individuals to thank for being mentors, for being guest speakers, for being coaches, for being resources that really help all the participants get an insider view on what's going to have them succeed, regardless of what kind of business they're starting. So I just want to give a big shout out to those folks, most of whom do it on a pro bono basis. And then I also want to give one big thank you to all the folks at UCLA, because this is now year 10 of the UCLA Social Enterprise Academy, and we are the platform we have at UCLA is completely a function of our the many resources. Andy and his department, Partnerships UCLA in particular, has always, has evolved, helped us evolve this program to being the quality that it is. I have no idea what our next pivot will be. This year we were certainly not expecting to end up online, but here we are. And we're pretty pleased with how it turned out. I hope you'll all come back next year to participate in this event. And if you are in the audience representing a nonprofit organization or knowing a nonprofit organization that might benefit from this, it is not too soon to apply. Applications are available on the Academies for Social Entrepreneurship website. So either way, we hope we'll see you next year. And that's my goodbye.
No accelerator. You're doing so good. Throw the accelerator.
Oh, all right. Well, yes. And if you're a nonprofit that's already graduated from the Academy, we now have an accelerator, which is like a graduate program for Academy graduates who who are interested in having a team of students help them move through the launch phase. And those applications are also available on our website. All right, that's my piece. Again, our thanks for your participation. Congratulations to all the participants, and don't be strangers. We want to hear from you.
Yes, thank you all, and stay in touch. And thank you, Patrick, for that very nice keynote speech. And judges, for the work that you did here. Ann Wang, maybe you remember, I think you were in the second year, or maybe the third year that we did it, but very early on. Thank you. Enjoy your dinners and your evenings, and we'll see you again soon.
Good night. Thank you.